Founded in 1906, Gisborne's Turihaua stud is the oldest Angus stud in Australasia that's still in business. In 2011, its annual bull sale produced a record result for the stud, the breed and the industry, when 79 two-year-old bulls sold for an average of just over $10,000 each. Hamish Williams is the fourth generation to run the Turihaua operation that also carries sheep.
Turihaua is 2,000 hectares of medium to steep hill country. We effectively farm about 1,800. We've got 3 QE2 blocks and we've got some forestry, and we like to plant lots of trees. My father was a tree fanatic, so we've got trees for miles. We lamb about 4,500 ewes to a terminal sire these days. We buy in 5-year-old ewes and contract finish all their lambs, depending on the season, 3,000 to 5,000 more lambs for ovation or lean meats, depending what the season's like and where we're going. We calve roughly 400 Angus stud cows and 250 commercial cows. Commercial cows are calved in the autumn. We calve about 80 heifers in the spring from the commercials. The program with them is we castrate nearly all the males. We keep a few top bulls of the bull calves just for one of the family farms. They get a selection of those, fill some gaps. And the rest are all finished as steers, which either get contracted to Halibis or Angus Pure or wherever we think the market should be. The first ones usually go about 20 months. The last ones about 26, 28 months. The Angus is such an all-purpose animal, and so it does fit a very wide range of the market, and the fact that it is also a very good eating animal. So combine that with fertility, its durability, its ability to convert rank feed, to clean up country, have some longevity. All these boxes it ticks makes it a very good all-purpose animal. We lamb down 4,500 ewes and we tend to finish anywhere between 7,000 and 9,000 lambs a year. We buy in lambs. The contract's negotiated every spring and we have 2 goes at it, depending on the season. It's a good contract where there's plenty of give and take between us and ovation, which is good. With the wool on our property in Taihape, we are very conscious of the type of wool we will grow on our sheep, and we like a medium Romney. We don't want too coarse, medium to fine. We think that market's stronger, it's easier to sell, and so we are very particular about the wool. My great-grandfather actually bought the first Angus cows in 1896 from Guavis in Hawke's Bay. Bought them up. They were actually recorded cows, but they weren't recognised as stud animals. In 1906 he bought some registered animals and started the stud. He kept the records of those Guavis cows, and they were upgraded at about 1913 into the stud, which gave them numbers quite quickly. The stud has grown, well, it's been quite big ever since then really, and we've worked on sort of 300 to 400 cows up and down over the last 110 years. The philosophy was about growing cattle on the environment that we live in and testing those genetics without compromising what they're eating or the environment. We've introduced new genetics, American genetics and other genetics, Australian genetics. I think that's part of our responsibility as a seed stock person, that you've got to test all the genetics. We found that a lot of those genetics don't suit our environment, so they kind of drop off. But out of that you always get good little things. We just like to push all the boundaries at the same time. We've got to stick to our fundamentals, which is structural performance, fertility and moderation, we believe. We'll put as much growth into our cattle as we can, and that tends to be into fleshing and weight rather than frame score. We're pushing now to put as much carcass in but we won't compromise their durability and fertility and those things for specific traits. So we try to set a model that works and we'll introduce extras, and if they can survive, that's good. So that's sort of where we're going now. Our top cows are 700 kilos plus when they wean. That's more than enough, we've found, for the performance evaluation, which is getting your steers off at 300 kgs on the hook at 2 years or under. The female line is really the most critical part of our whole program. If you haven't got your factory, you haven't actually got a business. And so, since I've been involved in this property, it's about the dams. It's about getting a strong herd, a strong maternal herd of cattle. They give us all our strength. They give us our bull line that can go on. All our bulls are blocky tested and inspected by independent inspectors, the vets. They get a thorough check over before we sell them. We guarantee them for 3 years, and they are staying in that system mostly. You're always going to get one or two that'll let you down, but in general it's only been about sort of 2% over that 3-year period. Some of our guys will just come in and take our best EBV cattle. Some of our other guys will just go for the function. So it sort of works as quite a good model. I'd prefer that they came in and just went for fertility and function first, and then use their EBVs when they're doing their mating. Balance their program with it. We're just shifting some mixed age cows from the commercial herd. They haven't got calves on them because we autumn calve them and try to wean them in the spring when the spring flush comes. The idea of that is that we use the stud bulls over them. They're all single sire mated, so we get a bit more feedback about what the stud bulls are doing. We try to run the studs as commercials. You're a little bit limited when you're single sire mating and things like that. But I mean, the studs actually probably take it a bit harder because they're calved behind a wire and tagged at birth, and they get a lot more interference than the commercials. The performance assessment is done by their fertility. When we cull them on their fertility, we do put them under a fair bit of pressure, and then they're analysed at weaning time. The best feedback we get back is from repetition of guys coming back to biogenetics. I think that's probably the best way to measure the success of what you're doing.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.